Welcome everyone to Google 101 and for search and to analytics as it's a giant process. I'm so grateful that everyone is here today. Thank you for coming in the summer. Big shout out to the OGC for those who are in the group or the club. We're so happy to have you guys part of this. And feel free to have your Google dashboards open and your website open as we're going to make this really interactive and actionable today. And I am Brooke Shapiro, and this is Karl, and we are going to be taking you through everything today and talking a little bit about ourselves. So, next slide, please. Today we're going to learn all about search. We're going to talk to ensure that your website is seen. So we're going to talk about search engine optimization, SEO. We're going to understand the bidding for SEM. So that is paid search. So when you see paid ads, we're going to ensure that you can measure your search performance to know, is this actually working? Is this right? Is this, the good word to bid? Am I getting a ROI? We're talking about how we're going to review a website and share real time how to improve it. Thank you to Lene. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Who offered to be the example for us today and going real time through her website. And yeah, so we're going to make this engaging and fun. Ask questions throughout as I'll be checking the chat. Next slide. And so just a little bit about me. For those who don't know me, I'm Brooke Shapiro. I actually have two complementary marketing companies. One is Sprinkle Parents, which is here in the Bay Area. I'm based in Oakland, and I provide families education, activities, resources, support for families that may need help with counseling, that might need help with connections for preschools, anything that you need. I really try and support parents. And then the second is I'm a business consultant. So I help businesses ideate, provide them guidance, coaching, strategy, act as a marketing CMO in any way. Some of the brands I've worked on are Fortune 500 companies like Coca-Cola, Johnson Baby, Babies R Us, Clorox, usually in the kids space. And then I also now work for a lot of small businesses, early startups to help them with their marketing and sales pipeline. So really grateful to be here today. Think of me as high level strategy, and then I'll let Karl introduce himself, and he's kind of hands-on keyboard. I think the kids are calling it HOK these days, HOK, hands-on keyboard. So I'll let Karl introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karl. So what I do is my company's name is MarketYou, and what we specialize in is helping small to medium-sized businesses with anything digital, from SEO to paid social, website development, things like that. And we actually do specialize in helping local businesses as well. So some of the companies that we work with are actually because I'm originally live in out in Las Vegas, and then now we're out in Chicago. Some of the businesses that we do are from surgeons to like local flower shops, but then we have major businesses that are just international e-commerce businesses that we deal with as well. So we have a pretty diverse background of what we can help and assist with, and been in the digital space for over 20 years. And yeah, we've been doing this for a little bit and have quite a few ideas on how to help from, whether you're big or small.
Awesome. Thanks, Karl. Yeah, Karl and I actually work on a bunch of projects together. We launched a baby formula company a few years back and worked on some protein balls. And so he's always my right-hand man when things need to be done right. I like to say on search and social. I know I can always trust him. So really excited. I've been trying to do this webinar for 4 years together. So anyways, I like to start these webinars just really high level of like what really is search, because everything I think becomes a buzzword. So then what I do is next slide, I kind of look at the dictionary just sometimes to start of what is really the definition of search. So search is the way that the internet uses queries. And they say they're looking at different data types, very lot of jargon. It's multimedia fronts of information. So it's where your online presence and how it looks. There's lots of different, once you get to paid search, ways that besides just Google out there, like Pinterest like to say they do search. There's Amazon search, right? It's AMS. Lots of different platforms. And you can also get the reporting from a dashboard to see how your search performance is doing, how you're ranking, where you're showing up. And so the two parts of search that we think about is SEO, which is search engine optimization, organic search, you might have heard that term. And the second is search engine marketing. And that is where you're paying and bidding to be towards the top of a search when you think about it. So the next slide is at the end of the day, just to like wrap this up in very layman terms for those who might not be in marketing, and this is very new to them, it's a popularity contest. I hate to say that, but I think of like, who's the most popular, who's the best hair, if you think of someone popular, the best hair, the best content, the best this, the best that, who does everyone want to go to? Your website needs to be very popular. And then who provides the best answers for the algorithms? So as you know, when you're typing into search, sometimes questions start to pop up, right? So which websites are answering the best questions? And then the third thing, which is why at times you really need an expert, is so that you can stay on top of like the algorithm changes. Everything for Google is an algorithm. And while we'll never know the real algorithm, because unless you work at Google maybe and are in their department, it's important to know all the tweaks and changes that is happening all the time so that you can have the best SEO and SEM. And that's where someone like Carl or really, anyone else or yourself just being really in the news, making sure you understand all these changes that are constantly happening so that your site can rank a little bit higher. Next slide. So search is all based on your website. So I'm going to take a little bit of a step back for those people who have built their website or had someone build your website. If you guys on your own screens want to pull up your own website just to kind of see what I'm talking about, again, I think it could be really helpful. So the next thing is if you look at your website and you see your URL, it's broken up to a few things. The most important thing is actually, my screen just went black, is looking at your .com. So you want to make sure if you think about it, can you guys, is my screen going crazy? Can you guys see it crazy? Or does it look okay?
No, we look good.
Okay, it's just on my screen. Is looking at your protocol, your subdomain, and your root domain. And you want to make sure that it is, ooh, Carl, do you mind explaining this real quick? My computer is bugging out.
Yeah, I'll add into this. So when it comes to domains, yeah, this is just kind of breaking down what it is. One of the main thing in terms of search ranking factors is you do want to make sure you have your SSL certificate set up appropriately. So depending on what platform that you actually are using, whether it's WordPress, Shopify, Squarespace, most of those companies provide a default SSL. So that what that means is in the beginning where the protocol is the HTTP, you always want to make sure at some point upgrade your HTTP to an HTTPS because it'll show up with a lock sign, especially in this day and age where privacy and security is a big topic and concern for people. Google and the search engines do value that and gives it a little bit of a nudge and be like, hey, here's an extra point for ranking you a little higher because you do your site is considered secure. And then also, I'm not sure if anyone on this call has ever experienced where a friend or a colleague sends you saying, hey, for some reason your site says it's unsecure to visit. That's one of the reasons because you're if you haven't set it up appropriately to have the SSL certificate. So that's and then so yeah, so check with your platform just to see if they already provide that. If not, you would have to go to your domain register and also purchase that upgrade. And something else to consider when it comes to domain, just overall domains itself, and your URL. A lot of times people don't realize that the length of the URL does matter from two things, from a branding standpoint and then from a organizational standpoint. So for example, when you do a .com, let's just say you're publishing a blog or publishing a page, whatever it might be, let's just say tinydancinghorse.com/ how to dance. That ending makes a difference on how long or short it should be. So you want to try to be efficient in as condensed version as possible. Because when it's too long, it does cause an issue in terms of like loading speed as well. Yep. I'll move on to the
Yeah.
next
And
slide.
another question that I get a lot is about .co, .com. Does it matter? And I think we shook out where it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. A lot of tech companies like to be .co. Um, and then on the next slide, when choosing your website, kind of like Carl was saying, like the branding, make it memorable. You want to make sure, like, this is where branding sort of matters when people are putting it into the Google bar, because Google will rank better branded companies. You want to try and make it short, like Carl said, and we want to make sure it's really unique to you. Because if it's too long, people might not remember it, they might not type it in. So the shorter, the more concise, the better. And
And
then
just to
oh yeah, go on.
add a little bit to that too. Let's just say right now you currently have a really long URL or you might not like it that much. There's always an actual branding opportunity to just acquire a separate domain and then redirect it. So it's not like no, if you already have one doesn't mean it's, the end of that all at the end. You can just acquire a new one, just redirect and set the other one as just a subdomain or just one that lives out there. And then you can use it to do better branding from that aspect as well.
Yeah, it's actually funny. Thanks for mentioning that. I actually had a really long domain at one point when I was like, Brooke Shapiro Sprinkles Parents Consulting. Like it was very, very long. And so then I had to get another domain that was a lot more concise. That was like BSFP, .com, and then redirect people. And I saw that it was a lot better when I had a shorter URL than a long one that people couldn't remember and never went to. So it's a learning process for us all. But the biggest thing, I think, going to the next slide is that when you have a website, and if you guys are doing it on Squarespace or if you have a Shopify site or wherever, make sure whatever your website you are building is SEO optimized, unless it's strategic and you don't want people to find your site, which is a strategy you could do as well. Like I like being underground versus being too out there. Like I like to be someone's little secret. So, but if you want to be like SEO optimized, you want people to find you through Google search, you want people to find you, in Yelp or wherever, you need to make sure your website has the search engine optimization in it so that they can actually find you. It's kind of like a tree in the forest. It's great if you exist, but if no one knows you exist, then it doesn't help, right? And you have to do a lot of work yourself to send people there. So using search engine optimization can really help your website. So search is how people find you. 46% of people actually start on Google search is what that data shows. If you're a product, about 50% of all searches start on Amazon actually. So it's a little bit different of a strategy. And then 4% actually type in your address. So as we were just talking about, your website address is super important and is also for the Google algorithm as well, right? So only 4% of people are actually typing it in, but Google is checking your algorithm. So
And just as extra bonus, I know this is a Google 101 seminar, but just to add it in right now, something that if people aren't aware of, TikTok SEO is also very important if anyone is on TikTok. And being actually properly putting the right keywords in the description of your video content can help you find search as well, because Google and TikTok have started partnering to show relevant results to each other.
oh, that's really cool. I didn't even realize that. Those are like little things that just happened in the past, few months that like I don't get to stay on top of. And that's why Carl is here to help. Thank you. All right, so search engine SEO organic, might use either term just for those here. It's going to improve your website content. It's going to make it so it can be visible on search engine results page. So you guys may have heard of search engine results page. SERPs is an acronym that is used, and it's the primary way that it's used to discover websites. And the process of improving the performance of the experiences is really the authority of your website, so that Google, when it's pulling it, is starting to pull you to the top. So to the next slide is, if you think about it, there are there's two types of SEO. There is on-page SEO, as the name suggests. And actually, Carl, I'll let you talk about this since you can explain it a little better than I can.
Yeah, so there's on-page SEO and off-page SEO. On-page optimization, that's where everything you can have full control on. That's everything done on your website, from the pages that you create, the content that you create, the images, everything from there. And it's just based on structure, title tags, site speed. Some of the more technical things you may or may not have full control of, because that sometimes you have to bring in a web developer to help you, because that's more the technical side. But those things usually are on the base level, depending on the platform you use, usually covered to a certain extent, depending on, let's just say, the theme or the template that you're using. And those are all contributing factors to the on-page SEO. And on-page SEO is, I would say, is a higher authority in terms of what's more important, on page or off page. On page is always going to be more important because that's where you want to make sure it, basically Google will look at it and say, hey, when someone comes to your site, are they getting the answers they need in the most efficient way? And are they, staying on to actually coming back when you see that, the queries that they're answering. And then off page is where is more from a mainly from backlinks, and then for local businesses or businesses that have actually a physical location or to a segment into a geographic area or a specific city. That's where you want to make sure you set up things like a Google My Business or Google Business Profile, they call it now, a Yelp. Make sure, like, everything that's what we call local business directories, you want to make sure you have your information set up on those free directories, because those are off-page factors that help ranking. And then on top of that, anything from PR mentions, from PR branding mentions, and then backlinks. Backlinks are just any link that's pointing to your site to help just improve the popularity of your authority overall. And then additional backlinks would be what we call guest posts. If you can write an article, write a guest article on someone else's site that has a higher authority than yours, when that points to your site, that actually helps you improve, and that's part of the backlink building as well. But it's not just from any site. You have to make sure it's like in the right industry niche.
Yes, that's very key. Carl, I wonder if this is a good time to bring up, so I want to make sure I pronounce your name, Linnea's site? Is that how I pronounce your name? Yeah?
Linnea.
Can you say it again?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Linnea.
Okay. Cool.
I'm right. Oh, Linnea, you froze a little bit.
Delayed.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to temporarily stop sharing.
Yeah. And the big thing, I think, is your industry niche. So I, as someone who's really interested in lots of things, will do stuff here and do stuff there. And it doesn't help my page, but to make sure it's really focused on just parenting when I'm focused on parenting sites, or making sure it's partnering with someone who's really niche, really helps. Like, one of my friends is starting another parenting site and asked me to write, so we can use some of the authority from my site onto his. So it's just really helpful to have the content at your fingertips that you can use. And so we're going to look at your site and maybe show it as an example for others to just see, and everyone put your website on your own end. So you can be looking at it as well to kind of make it more interactive. So I know sometimes talking about search is not the sexiest thing. Sorry, Carl.
Oh, it's not. I tell people that. That's why I have a job. It's not sexy, but it is, and sometimes it's quite tedious in terms of what is needed to do, because there is a lot to keep up with. Give me 1 second. I'm just pulling up specific tabs.
No worries. I think the biggest thing is, let me know when you're ready. It just really,
okay.
Take your time. Oh, cool.
Can everybody see everything?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so Linnea. Yeah, this is Linnea's website. We're just going to do a quick live audit just to kind of go over what are some things that could be improved on, added, and just very basic foundational things that one is can help automatically, and then two, just structurally, these are basic things that will help your site get indexed right away. So first of all, I'm assuming you're using Squarespace. From what I can see, I see a little square at the top. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I would say the just right off the bat, taking a look, I'm not sure if everybody can see, but at the very top of the browser tab, it says Mindfully Well Therapy. Can everyone see the little pop-up of my when my mouse is hovering? Just trying to, okay, yeah. So that part is the main like meta title tag for your homepage, and that actually has a lot of weight in terms of search and what
like a workshop. Oh.
and what needs to be I would say the first thing is change that right there, is because we want to figure like what is the service that brings you the most revenue from just a business aspect. That would be a question to you, Linnea.
Okay. Clients, I would say, I mean, there's a couple things, but I would say like clients seeking therapy.
So I understand there's a different therapy services. So like which therapy would you want the most amount of clients to focus on right now? Like therapy for teens or couples therapy?
What happens if the answer is both? Do I have to choose one?
Yeah, so when it comes to the search part, when it comes to like the main homepage in the beginning, you want to be able to at least pick one main one. So that way Google know what authority it is. And then on the sub pages that you build out, that's when we try to rank those individual pages. So as a whole though, in the beginning, you want to, and this will, when we'll talk more about it in the keyword research process of things, but this is the part that you want to be able to say, hey, tell Google right away, straight and simple, hey, I do therapy, but then Google might not be ranking you where you need to, because they're like, well, a lot of people do therapy. What kind of therapy do you do?
Couple therapy, let's say.
Okay, yeah. So in this example, what I would recommend changing to is just put couples therapy and then dash mindfully well therapy. You usually want to put your brand name towards the end, the keywords you want to put in the front. Yeah, so that alone will actually kind of help clean that up, and from Google standpoint, it's like, oh, okay, that's right away. We know what they want to focus on. And then as we scroll down, some of these will, I would say right off the bat, the content is thin. And when we say thin, there just needs to be more written content added to the homepage that actually describes a little more in detail of what the services you're providing. And sometimes it seems redundant, but part of Google and search itself is a little redundant because you have to just constantly tell them what you're about. So on this page, but you don't want to always copy and paste the same content. You just want to make sure you have mentions of what you actually do. And then at the very bottom, one big thing that standing out right now is you need to set up a footer for your site. Proper footer helps with what we call internal linking, and it's just a structural organization for the site, along with from a branding standpoint, because that is weighed heavily as well from Google these days, is putting your contact information in the footer and making sure that people can, Google itself, the robots can identify the contact information and the brand information.
Amazing. This is wow. Who knew?
Yeah, so it's and those are things.
Carl
and
knows.
then I noticed, so like on every, like by doing the footer by default, it's just like the header, it'll automatically include all that information. And then on the sub pages, what I recommend doing, you do already have this set up where these go to individual pages. And there are content here. So what I would recommend is just adding something or going into the individual pages, the copy, just interlinking to your other services. Because internal linking is very important, where it helps the algorithm look at it. It's like, oh, okay, these are related. And it's an easy user experience from someone to navigate from this page to this page if they're looking to look deeper and deeper dive. And then if you have blog content, that's where you also want to link to each other as well. Like on this page, if there's like something that you can say, hey, here's some advice or tips that you can learn more about, click over to this blog. And then from that blog, same thing, link back to a specific topic that relates to that therapy service.
Wow,
And just
Carl,
from
everyone's minds are blown.
and just from a user experience standpoint, if it's possible to make therapy service a dropdown, to just when someone hovers over it, they can actually just see what the therapy service is right off the bat instead of having to just directly go to the page. Yeah, so I would say those are some just quick tips that you can implement right off the bat and actually help to just kind of give you a boost right there. So even right here, individual therapy. So there's already going to be a little bit of confusion from a Google standpoint. So individual therapy and then therapy for teens. If you look at both of these tabs up here, this one says therapy for teens, but when I clicked on individual therapy, same thing, it says therapy for teens as well. So that's to Google will be like, there's confusion. We don't know which page to rank because they're both therapy for teens. Yeah, so that's something you'll want to clean up right there, make it the change. And then this one is, even though it says individual therapy, you want to figure out from keyword searches what like a more niche therapy that might not be commonly known, but is something beneficial to you and also beneficial to the service that you're providing that you want to focus and rank for. And then while we're on the topic of just search in general, here's one of the free tool. Like they offer a free trial, but then it's also a paid tool. A keyword search tool that we like to use is called Uber Suggest. And this is where we can do a quick, really quick search just to see, let's just say couples therapy we had mentioned. And Linnea, you're mainly focused in the Bay Area, correct?
Do you have clients in like SoCal, or I can see anyone in California, but I am based in the Bay Area.
Okay. Just to kind of do a quick one. So there's a couple examples that we want to look at here. So when we do, let's just say couples therapy, in a keyword research, some things we want to look at. One, this keyword search is too high of a volume from a comp to try to focus on trying to rank this, because that means because there's a 90,000 search volume, that means the likelihood of your website ever trying to rank even in the top 10 is very low due to all the major companies out there. So so when you want to rank for something like this, this is not a good choice to do. So what we want to do is narrow it down. So couples therapy, because you're more, let's just say more segmented to California, what we'll do is just start by geographically doing cities. So in this example, let's just say because Bay Area, we can just do San Francisco for now. Bear with the internet. Okay, so here's a good example of search volume. Now, when we type in couples therapy San Francisco, it's telling me there's 0 search volume and what the difficulty might be. Now, because it's not as high, we'll want to go into down here where it says keyword ideas. And there is some examples that we saw that could be switched to already. So for example, there's people that are specifically typing in couples therapy Bay Area, couples therapy San Jose, couples therapy Oakland. So these 3 right here are keyword opportunities, what I call to try to rank for. Because this is things that we can niche it down to. And these are things that would be have a higher chance of ranking for. And then down here, these are what we call potential low-hanging fruits, where the competition might not be as high, but it is addressing a question that people are searching for. Couples therapies cost per session. So how do you incorporate this either in the content of your site? You want to dedicate, a small paragraph or even a page that answers this question, and talk about like, hey, what are the, exactly saying, hey, couples therapies cost per session. What does that mean? How much does it cost from my side? But when you're doing that, you can weave different keywords or keyword phrases into that content, so you have a higher chance of getting picked up in ranking for these specific keywords. So as an example, I would just create a dedicated page that talks about couples therapy for San Jose. And then in there, also make sure you mention what the couples therapies cost per session is. And then if this is, I'm not sure which, if I'm assuming TRICARE is the insurance, you can also address this TRICARE pay for couples therapy. And so like, this is just how we would weave the content based on some of the keyword researches.
And Karl, what type of volume do you usually aim for? Like what's considered good, what's too much?
Yeah, so like some of them right here for a website that's brand, or like not even a brand new website, but just for a website that isn't really ranking, you want to start with what we call the low-hanging fruits, low search volume, but it's also low competition to rank first. And when we say low search volume, anything under 300 is good in terms of the search volume, because that means that there's still people searching for it. And keep in mind, when we're doing keyword research, this is not just one keyword. Google will, as your authority builds, Google will rank you for other keywords that you might not even be aware of, because your authority is building. But overall, you just have to start with these as some targets to focus on, and then it'll just grow exponentially by itself. So in this example, yeah, so like 40s, this is good. 70s is good. Like 200. So like couples therapy Bay Area and couples therapy San Jose, that would be what we call the higher competition keyword, because the likelihood of just a lot of people ranking for it, and you can just kind of see it by what we call the CPC cost. This goes into the Google ad side of things. This is $20 per click. So what that means is this is going to be high competition where people are trying to rank for these, but this is just what we call the top tier one, that the highest level that you want to rank for. These other ones are just the subcategories that you want to start off with. And then something that I like to do is also just sort it by looking for the most basic opportunities, which is the lowest. Sometimes there's zero volume, and zero volume doesn't necessarily mean that there's no people searching. If it's actually showing up and giving me some data in the keyword search tools, that means there is still people searching for it, because otherwise it won't show up. So right here, I had just filtered it in this example. Yeah, for this particular keyword, these are pretty straightforward. These are the main things that people are searching for. So what we want to do is go over to questions or prepositions to see if there's any additional variations of a search phrase. So in here's volume. These are all zero. But these are some questions that people are asking. Weekend couples therapy are near me. Best couples therapy, San Francisco. Should couples go to therapy before marriage? So these are actual questions that people are searching for, that bigger sites may or may not be paying attention to, because they're like, hey, it's zero, nobody cares. But that's not what that means, because this showing up in the data is showing up. It's just that there's not enough search volume or data consistently that the algorithms and the tools are going to say, hey, this is how much search volume consistently is getting. But
Yeah.
This is still a question that people are asking. And something to keep in mind, these days we do voice search. So when you do a voice search, this is what people sometimes say.
It's like David and Goliath, I feel like a lot of times with smaller early businesses, where you almost like need to be like zigging where larger companies might be zagging, so that they can really find you. And Karl,
Yeah.
there is a question in the chat, and I know I had us jump in because I make it more engaging. And I kind of missed some of the foundations, but to clarify, so we need to check KD volume and CPC to decide our keywords. Is that how you would say?
No, usually, well, CPC is just, I would say CPC is only, it's something to look at.
For paid.
Yeah, for paid, but you do want to kind of look at it when you're doing keyword research. So keyword research is always the volume first, but when I only look at the CPC when I'm looking for low volume keywords. So when I say low volume keywords, an example is like, hey, let's just say this one right here. This is the volume is only 30, but the cost is $10 per click. So that's when I do have to look at it and be like, hey, automatically best couples therapist Bay Area. I just from my own experience, I know that's going to be a high competition because a lot of sites are paying to make sure they drive that lead, because this is lead generation. So in any lead generation business, the cost, like the competition for certain keywords are going to be high. So these are not like what we call viable, and that's why you want to check the CPC just to kind of verify as a final check. Is like, okay, this is not probably one that I want to spend too much effort in. I'm going to mention it in the content I'm creating once or twice, but it's not the main focus to try to go after, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Karl. Should we jump back to the deck?
Yep.
Please. So Karl made it more real-time and exemplary with looking at her site. But I just want to make sure everyone kind of takes some takeaways from this and kind of bring it back to basics a little bit. And while you bring up the deck, I'm just going to talk, which is totally cool. So the search is focused on keywords on the page, which he just mentioned, your website authority, as he showed you, the load time of your site, like how fast it loads. That's very important. I worked on a lot of brands. Actually, Karl and I worked on one. We kept having load time issues, so having to ensure your website loads fast, it's mobile optimized, things like that. The link popularity, like Karl talked about, the content on your site, and the technical configuration. So those were the things that Karl mentioned is very important. So I always joke it's all about the keywords, like that's the biggest thing. Can you restate the term used to describe the tab description on each page again? Oh, Karl, that's questions for you.
Say that.
The term used to describe the tab description for each page, what is that called?
Oh, it's the meta title.
And then next things that things that are going to help you, like Karl had showed you, is going to be doing your keyword research like we just did in real time with him, optimizing the titles like we saw him do in the headings and the meta descriptions, constantly publishing relevant and quality content. So as we were mentioning, looking at the keywords, figuring out what's out there, constantly pushing good content, optimizing your images, which we didn't really talk about because content could be a whole other separate one, and design of your website could be a whole big thing, but just knowing the images, using the links, the internal links, optimizing the URL, linking to social media is another important thing that you're going to want to do for your website. Having it so that people can go to your social media pages, your TikTok, your Instagram, like Karl mentioned, they're starting to talk to each other more. And then the search is working through the intent, searching intent, like are people searching for different things? The keywords, the meta descriptions, the site architecture, the site speeds, schema, and social media. And Karl, do you mind explaining what schema is? Because this is actually one where I always have a lot of questions. Also,
yeah. So schema is just it's a piece of code that you add into your site to make it basically easier for the robots to say, hey, this is what it's about. So it's more specific, and more schema is typically more useful for local businesses because it tells them exactly like, hey, here's the address, here's the name, things like that. And that it's very beneficial for local regional businesses, because that's the biggest thing that the algorithms use to search right off the bat is the schema information for that site.
Thank you. So jumping to the next slide. So where you find the keywords is going to be Google Ads has a keyword planner, the Google Search Console. And then you can also pay for some, like Uber suggests, like Karl mentions, the free trial. SEMrush is another good one. RF is a really good one. I have a bunch of clients that use RF, and then Answer the Public. So just so as you guys are working through this on your own, or if you want to reach out, we're happy to help. Or Karl can help. you can, use those tools. Blogs and content, we kind of touched upon. I'm not going to go into that. And we only have 15 minutes. So from a 15-minute standpoint, I'm going to breeze through paid search real quick, and then we can focus on dashboard and seeing how it works. Is that cool, Carl?
Yeah.
I know you talked about SEM a little bit. So SEM is paid search ads. So yes, it's great. Your organic is going to be up there, but people are going to be bidding on, like Carl said, for paid ads. So you want to make sure that it's called a pay-per-click model, and it's going to help you get even more visibility because Google loves brands that are paying for ads as well. And so you can do this on Google AdWords. And also note, people still use Bing. Everyone asks that question, like, does Bing matter? It's automatically on a lot of PCs because Microsoft. So especially if you have an older audience, like Scott and Scott's Protein Pellets, one of the brands that Carl and I worked on, is like they have an older audience, like they use that I found they were more likely to use Bing too. So it's important to make sure that you're covering your bases. It doesn't really hurt. So the way paid ads work, SEM, is identifying the keywords. You're going to be needing to create ads that are going to pop up when they find you, and just making sure you're understanding the bidding costs and the conversion factors. So think of this more as the advertising. And so what to bid on, there are 4 main things to think about. And Carl touched upon this a lot in SEO, which is why I'm going to breeze through it. But I just want to make sure people know there are the generic terms. So that's more like high level, think of it as a trade generic. There are related terms that like don't directly apply to your business, but they might be searching for. If you think about like running shoes is more generic as an example, and then jogging, they need the shoes to jog. Branded terms, it's containing your actual business name. So making sure like people are if they're looking for your business, and know your name, or they saw it somewhere. And then competitor terms. So if you're New Balance, you're going to go after Nike, right? Those are ones that tend to be a little bit more expensive because if you're paying for a competitor, they're probably paying for their branded terms. So those, you have to think about in certain examples. So I think the big thing is going to be talking about, maybe this one I'll go through real quick and then you go through the real life example, is search actually working, right? Because you can do all those things that Carl mentioned in the beginning, but you have to iterate and test and learn and make sure it works, right? Because so many things, Carl obviously does the staying out and it's probably going to work, but you want to measure it works. And is this most cost effectively working, right? Is this working better than that? That's a lot of like stuff in the background that Carl and his team are doing every day. That's hard for someone like me, to be going in and checking. So it's very important to like know that it's working. So the biggest thing is going to be making sure your tags work. So that's a piece of code that's placed on your site. And it's linked back to checking your Google Analytics dashboard. And it's going to be checking the measureness of your website. It's going to see how your ads are doing. It's going to be, it's a UTM, a unique tagging metric that links back to your site. I know when someone registered, they were asking what UTM was. So it's very important that your tags are all set up correctly because you can do everything, but if your tags aren't set up correctly, you won't be able to see the results and have reporting. So the next slide is Google Analytics is going to be measuring, sorry, I was just looking at the chat. Is going to be looking at your page views, how many people are actually going to your site. If you don't have a lot of page views, we need to fix that, right? Knowing which content is working. So what content do you want to write more about? What events, what are people actually doing on your site? If you have a product or service, transactions, are they buying? Are they signing up? Like which ones are better? Maybe you have, thinking about your site, Lene, is they're just doing couples therapy. So maybe no point doing teen because nobody is looking, for teen. So which one is really working for you as you think about optimizing your services? Where are they coming from? Are they coming from your social media? Did they come from Google? Did they come from this article, that article? You can see who they are. Is it all men dragging their wives to therapy, or is it all women dragging their husbands to therapy? I bet it's a second. Anyways, just like who they are, so that way you kind of know who your ideal target audience is. The time spent on the page, are they spending a lot of time? They go onto your page and then like not finding what they want and leaving. And then which keywords are working. So we're going to find all that in Google Analytics. And so I'll let Carl take it from here to go into Google Analytics to look at your site. And that way we can kind of see what works, what doesn't, how you really like Google Analytics. I just always like to say, and Carl, you can start pulling it up, the dashboard is Google Analytics needs to be something you check often. Not too often. You don't have to be obsessive. We had a client that was obsessive with it. You have to check it every single minute, but it's important to be looking at so that way you really know what's happening. You know where your efforts are going and what's working and what's not. And also important to know what to look for and how to be pulling it and make sure you're looking for the right thing. So as Karl pulls up the dashboard, I'll let him, he's the master of all this, take you through what you need to check.
Yeah, so this is just one of my clients, and we're just using that as an example. But the navigation's very similar. So first off, if anyone that's on the call that has not switched over from what Google calls Universal Analytics to what Google now calls GA4, you need to set that up and make that transition because you're going to lose all the existing data you have from previous Universal Analytics. But if anyone, and the other part is something to consider is if you have a website currently and you haven't installed Google Analytics, that's the first step for anything. Forget the keywords, forget everything else. If you have a website, install Google Analytics, make sure they're linking to just start tracking that data. The reason for that is that this happens all the time where we work with client or get brought into a project that, this is, I would say, the first main step to do. Like they don't even have this tracking because they're like, hey, where's traffic coming from? Where's sales coming from? Where's XYZ coming from? They're like, we don't know. And I was like, oh, do you have Google Analytics? That by default should give you some data. Now, Squarespace, Wix, and Shopify, they usually give you like some data analytics that should give you some numbers, but usually they're not as accurate as Google Analytics when it comes to the traffic side of things. Now, like if someone has Shopify or if someone has, I do believe with Squarespace, Squarespace, they do have a little bit of data on that one, but they tell you, hey, here's how many people are converting in terms of checking out, but usually the sessions and the users are not as accurate. So that's why you want to make sure you have Google Analytics. Now, when you're in Google Analytics, the first thing you want to go do is go to admin, account data streams. Data streams is over here on the once you're in admin. Data streams is what you want to, this is where you're going to get the code that you're going to need to add to the platforms, because Squarespace, Wix, and all those, they naturally have a section that you can do. If you're using WordPress, the easiest way is just to install a plugin that will just kind of walk you through it to sync it. But this is going to be the code that they're saying, hey, this is the data we need, and then this is the measurement ID that you want to copy over.
And Karl, really quick, and you can do this with Wix. It seems a few people on the webinar today are using Wix. Is it the same thing?
Yeah, like same thing with like Wix and Squarespace have similar functionality where they say, hey, install your Google Analytics setup. Now, I haven't, dealt with Wix and Squarespace in a little bit from a client's perspective, but they were mainly dealing with Universal Analytics. So if they haven't updated that setting to say, hey, install your GA4 analytics, then that's something that we'll need to figure out. And you might need to manually install a code. And if you have to manually install the code, this is where you come down here. Usually when you first set it up, like right here, it says view tag instructions. And then right here, like it'll tell you, hey, here's WordPress, Wix, Squarespace. So you just select the platform and it will automatically walk you through it. Otherwise, if for some reason it's not working properly, then you have to copy this code right here. And then you have to go to specific section of your site where you can actually insert the code. And that will be that process takes a little bit more, but for most people that's on here right now, the easiest way is just use this version where it'll just automatically sync it for you if you haven't resynced it for Google Analytics 4. And once you actually have that set up, usually it takes about, I would say, 24 hours for the data to start pulling in. And then once the data is there, the main parts that here's a snapshot of things, you know, that it breaks down for you. There's always the, usually by default, it's last 7 days or last 28 days. Right here, let's just say last 28 days. It breaks it down by user, new user, average time on site. If you're running revenue, live, how many people are live on the site. For everyone, majority of people on this call, you're not going to really need to worry about how many people are live on the site, because that's not the type of business you're doing.
Can I just call out one thing really quick? Can you go back up, Carl?
Mhm.
So just to make sure I understand, so your client's website got $75,000 in like 10 days? Or
28 days.
In 28 days.
days.
I'd like that.
Yeah, they do quite well for a flower shop.
So I just want to call that out because that's really good to know.
Oh, and here's a good example right here. It tells you like, hey, where majority of traffic's coming from, and majority for this client is organic search. And then so just to kind of break it down, when you're in the dashboard, the main things that you want to look at is organic search, direct, paid search if you're running paid ads, Google ads, Bing ads, things like that. Organic social, if you're running email campaigns, those are important. And I would say for everybody on the call, like at some level, I would recommend running some sort of newsletter, some sort of email campaign, because you never know when someone needs your services and you want to stay top of mind. But yeah, so organic search and direct is important because a lot of times when you're, let's just say, running ads outside of Google ads, they don't always what we call give credit to the right platform. So that's why you always want to kind of look at where the traffic actually is coming from, because a lot of times what happens is if you're running ads on Facebook, Instagram, Meta, TikTok, that traffic gets credited to direct instead of paid social. So because the reason is there's some sort of disconnect when someone clicks on the ad and then Google just says, oh, someone already had your website, so we're just going to count it as direct. And then also if they don't know where it comes from, they just count it as direct as well. So this is one thing that you have to always kind of keep in mind and look at. Yeah, and then this is a breakdown. And then if we want to break it down further, there's something called user acquisition, first user primary channel. This is usually where I look at majority of the details, where it's telling me, hey, how's the new user acquisition? And then right here, you can just compare it to previous period. Typically, when I'm comparing reports, I don't do previous period. I usually try to match it for the same days of the month. Like, so for example, this is from July to the 18th. So I'll just do from June to 18th. And then it'll tell you the breakdown, how many new users was acquired, key events. This is if you have already set up the proper tags for, hey, purchase, completed order. So let's say it's purchase order. This will tell you what we call conversion rates. Same thing right here. This still break down how many orders was placed and then total revenue. And if we want to ever dig any deeper, this is just one last quick tip. We just click on here, type in landing page. And this is where you can see what actual page people are going to land on or where they came from. So usually when there's like this slash, that means it's the home page. And then right here, this is an additional page. They're landing directly on this sub location page that we had set up for them. So yeah, now that's just a quick tip there of what needs to be looked at.
Thanks, Carl. I know we're out of time. There's so much we could have talked about here. So thank you, Carl, for sharing with all of us. Just maybe jumping back to the slide, just to wrap this up for the people. One, this is recorded, so if you guys want to watch this later, you're welcome to. I'll make sure to send the slides as well. The second thing is just want to share with you guys information of how you can work with Carl, connect with myself, in case you guys have any questions. I'm not seeing the screen yet, Carl, sorry.
Yeah.
But essentially, we'll put up on the screen and I'll have in the follow-up email our contact information. If you scroll down one, please. Thanks for being the master of the slides. Oh, I did a recap. Let's go through the last one. I'll put that in the email. To stay in touch with us if you need any help, like guidance, coaching, projects. I'm more of a strategist and I help early stage businesses. And then if you guys are just like, this search was great, I'm happy I learned it, I want someone else to do it, I want someone else to clean this up for me, feel free to reach out to Carl. And he can help you with your website, your SEO, your social media, email marketing, everything. Like I said, he's my go-to whenever I'm helping with different brands launch businesses. So thank you, Carl, for sharing with us today. Your guidance, your information, like so grateful to have you here. And thank you everyone for joining.
Thank
All right.
you.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thanks. Bye.